Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check today's video out because you guys are going to be glad you did. I'm going to show you how to make and build and fish what I call the tidbit jig for fall bass fishing. This jig setup that I'm going to show you, it's easy to make yourself, and for whatever reason, every year in October, November, when you start having the leaves start falling and they start turning colors, this particular color, profile, everything about it, I catch a ton of fish on it, so we're going to show you guys how to make it in today's video. And also guys, everything I'm talking about here, all the components, all the stuff I'm talking about, you can get them at Tackle Warehouse. And also guys, with some certain purchases, you get a free Tackle Warehouse t-shirt like I got on here. So I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description if you'd like to get some of the stuff using that link. It's a good way to help the channel, so appreciate that. Now, how I figured this out, it's sort of a slow process. I started fishing jigs a lot back in the late 1970s and early 1980s when I was in the Big Mo Bass Club there in Joplin, Missouri. And the guys in our club, they love fishing Table Rock Lake in the fall time of the year, October, November. And so we had a lot of club tournaments then. And I can remember always running up the rivers that time of year, catching them on a jig, and I knew, you know, from years and years of fishing that bass like jigs, and it started to evolve over a period of time to where I came up with this one setup that I call the tidbit about 10 years ago. And for whatever reason, one of those things I can't explain, in October and November, this particular color setup and everything is just, I catch a ton of fish on it. So I'm going to show you guys how to make it yourself. You can probably buy most of this stuff, but I'm going to sort of show you the how to put it together right in front of you here. So first of all, you got to have a ball head jig. Now, this, I'm actually working with Cumberland Pro Reelers to design a throwback finesse jig. We got my old throwback pitching and flipping jig now, but I'm in the process of working. This is a homemade model here, sort of going to be similar to this, but a ball head jig in like a 3/8 to 1/2 ounce size. And then I'm going to take and make my own skirt here. And this is another thing. I'll put all the skirt tying materials if you want. Plus, guys, if you don't tie your own skirts, I would highly recommend start doing it. You can create so many different colors by tying your own skirts that are not available on the market. Highly encourage everybody to tie their own. So I'm going to show you how easy it is here. So first of all, we're going to take 2 strands of black silicone here. Also, in my jig, in the throwback jig I'm going to make, guys, it's probably going to have the living rubber in it. But just for the sake of you know, showing you how to build it a little bit more easy for most people, I'm going to use the silicone because silicone is a lot easier to get. Living rubber is a lot harder to work with and a lot harder to get. So just for the ease of the demonstration, I'll show you that. So I usually start with 2 strands coming in here. Pull them through like this. If you never tied them, it's really simple to do. You put those 2 strands in, and then you cut off the excess on the ends there. And you've got your skirt just like that. Then I'm going to slip it over the jig here. I'll show you how quick it is to tie up a tidbit. Put it over the jig. These collars here sometimes make it a little hard. And then once your jig skirt is on, make sure you rotate it around where it's evenly and flare it out, because sometimes the skirt materials get stuck together. I'm also going to take this jig weed guard and I'm going to pull it back a little bit and I'm going to trim it up. So see that jig weed guard? I'm going to cut it level with or parallel with the top of the hook. And I'm also going to take out about half the strands. So I got about half the weed guard in there like that. And then the next thing, excuse me guys, dang allergies here. I'm going to cut the skirt back really short, almost to above the hook there. Like that. I really don't want many strands coming down below the hook. So I've trimmed it back where it's just a little tidbit like that. Now the next thing I do, guys, is I get a package of the Z-Man. You guys know I'm working with Zoom. I'm sponsored by Zoom, but this is one bait that I use, not Zoom, for this technique. It's the Z-Man TRD in the copper truce, just like the old copper truce color here. And I'm going to throw this, or thread this copper truce on there with the dark side up. And when you're rigging this thing, make sure that you get it straight on there, because It's really important for having the way the jig falls right. Come right through the middle of it. And put it on there. And that's your little TRD setup, guys. This is the tidbit right here. This little thing right here, I'm telling you right now, I don't know what the deal is with it, but this combination of a black skirt and this chartreuse, coppertreuse, or whatever color on the TRD, guys, this thing, they love it in the fall time of the year. This setup right here, if you've got water visibility, even though it's a bright color jig, it's not made really for dirty water. My favorite water visibility for this setup is about 3 feet or so. So anywhere if you have water visibility, if say 2 to 5 foot visibility, it's perfect for this setup. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for channel banks and steep banks, whether it be a steep rocky bank, a steep bluff bank, normally in the upper part of a lake or creek arm. So my favorite way to fish it, 2 different ways here, like pick out 2 or 3 of your major creek arms, go up to the upper 1/2 to 2/3 of the creek arm and get on those channel banks or the steepest banks in the area. Or if you go up the river part of your lake, get on the channel banks or the bluff banks and simply cast and pitch and flip this little jig up to the bank there. I usually put it like on 12 to 15 pound test Seaguar and Vizex line, like a 7-foot medium heavy action rod, and just methodically pitch to those rocks, working it down sort of in that 2 to 10 foot range. And guys, another good thing about it is in the fall time, there's so many leaves coming. Those steep banks usually have a lot of trees on them, like, glowing up on the bluffs. So you've got leaves coming down constantly in October and November. You can't hardly fish a moving bait through there because it gets caught up in the leaves, but you can fish a jig. And that's why I started fishing it. So just methodically pitch it and flip it down those steep banks where the leaves are blowing. And guys, this thing will get you bites. I'm telling you, this color combination, this little small profile like that, this thing's only like probably, 2.5, 3 inches long. Sometimes I'll even, clip it back a little bit. But anyway, I call it the little tidbit, guys. It will get you some good bites, easy to make. Like I said, I'll link everything in the description of the video. You can probably, buy a jig that's already a finesse jig that's in black if you don't want to mess with tying it. And then you can just get you a, TRD worm and put it on the back of it. But you can create a little bit more colors if you do it your own. Another thing I'll do sometimes is I'll put, say if it's cloudy out or if it's rainy, I'll put a little bit of chartreuse strands of silicone or living rubber in my jig skirt. Sort of makes it stand out a little bit. But anyway, guys, give it a try. It's going to be working probably over the next month. Hope it helps you guys catch a few. We'll talk later.